Okay, give me an example.
Like if they don't control their sugar intake and not things that aren't just sugar, like bars and stuff like that, and they can become hyperglycemic.
Okay, so it makes it more difficult to control. What else?
Metabolic syndrome,
Metabolic syndrome, tell me more.
with hyperlipidemia, it's good to control saturated fats.
Mhm.
Hypertension is also affected by high sodium intake, and
Mhm.
diabetes, of course, with carbs and sugars, processed foods.
Okay, what else?
I saw it a lot when I would transport patients out to eastern Kentucky. A lot of the
Okay.
patients that I pick up have notes in their charts about diet, that, you know, they had been educated about what they were and weren't supposed to eat. None of them listened to it, but
Okay. It's hard. It is hard to change. Anything that requires a behavior change usually takes at least 6 months. It requires intentionality and discipline. So nutrition is very cultural, very hard to combat that. So that's a good point. And the other is that I see providers abandon diet and nutrition very early because they'll just say it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work quickly. That is the truth. If you ignore it though, then their underlying foundation of everything you treat is cracked. And so the longer you ignore it, the worse things get. They will progress, maybe not more rapidly, but they will continue to progress and they will need more drugs, okay? It doesn't cause side effects. You don't have to lab monitor and people will eat well and choose well, okay? But if you use a drug, you have to do something to monitor it and it alters the body. Food does too, but I always try to get across to patients is that using a food wisely doesn't cause side effects. Drugs always cause side effects. Most of the side effects work on our food changes in our brain and our satisfaction. Okay. Any other stories about affecting your health? Yes.
Just when I did my internship at the VA, I mean, there's a lot of patients that would come in and you're talking nutrition to them and they'd be like, oh, it's okay, my doctor will just up my medicine. So you could tell that they kind of had that idea drilled into their head too, that like, I will just up it. not
It's
that big
true.
a deal.
I told you when we did lipids about working in the lipid clinic, and I had a lot of patients who would beg me to give them more statin in order to reach goal. The most extreme was the guy who ate 18 eggs a day. Now, he had a psych issue, but he did 18 eggs a day, to the point where he would bury the cartons in the backyard so his wife couldn't find them. So he stayed at home, she went to work. He did the eggs while she was gone, he buried the evidence in the backyard. That's what she told me. So I always had patients beg, give me 10 more milligrams of statin so I can eat that many more eggs. We were pretty restrictive on our advice with eggs at that point. So, anybody else? Yes, Bimi?
Professor Reggio mentioned last week that kidney stones are usually caused by things like coffee and high calcium foods as well as sodas. So I know like a lot of people like to drink carbonated beverages to contribute to calcium oxalate formation.
So calcium or oxalate, yes, that's true. But you have to be predisposed, because people can drink a lot or eat a lot of those and never have them. So if you're predisposed, that would get you. Lindsay?
I was just going to say, just because a patient's admitted to the hospital and put on a certain diet doesn't mean they'll eat it either. My mother-in-law was on the heart diet whenever she was admitted to the hospital, and she was begging people to bring her Sonic like all the time. I was like, you're on this diet for a reason, but people
It's
brought it to her.
true. It's true. I used to start going through patients' drawers because you would find all kinds of interesting. I found a bag of Thunderbird. Well, y'all probably don't even know what that is, but it's just cheap alcohol in her bedside table. What else? Sophia?
I found that, including some people in my family, some choice people that think that eating like only organic means you don't need to go to the doctor, and you don't need vaccines and stuff like that.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. So it doesn't solve everything, but it helps a lot. Okay, who else? Cynthia?
Aside from extreme cases like starvation, I think there's also a lot of psychology that goes into eating, that people use it as a coping mechanism, as like sort of like an addiction, like they were with something else. And then there's just a lot of psychiatric involvement when it comes to food and food response.
Very, very true.
I was just gonna mention that too, like, being an athlete and around other collegiate athletes, people who are very strict about their diet and like not adjusting to their performance. Cause they were like, oh, I only wanna eat X amount of carbs a day, I only wanna do, and then, it would end up hurting them in the long run. We had a couple of people like pass out on the field and
Wow.
things like that, cause they just refused to,
Up it
it
for
was almost
output.
like too healthy, kind of,
Too
Yeah.
restrictive, so it can go either way.
yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, so in this module, we're going to talk a lot about basics, because I don't know that that's necessarily part of your background. How many of you had nutrition in lower school or middle school? Pretty good. Did they teach you how to put a meal together? Some, yes, but very few of you. That's what I have found over the years in dealing with patients, that very few of them have nutrition, any idea about nutrition. So we're going to talk about some of those problems that pop up. We'll do it a lot by helping you learn more about yourself and what your nutritional status is, not status so much, but how you evaluating your own diet. So I'll get into some more of that as we go through the PowerPoint. So why am I qualified? Why is a pharmacist qualified to teach nutrition? Well, it's probably debatable from some people's standpoint, but I have dealt with diseases like lipids and diabetes for 30 years. I have worked with 4 excellent dietitians. In fact, I never practiced when I wasn't working within a team of a dietitian. So Araceli Neal, who's a Filipino dietitian at the VA, Carol Schwacke, who is also a dietitian at the VA, Paige Beach, and Mickey Hall, who worked in our diabetes clinic. So I have learned a lot from them. A lot of it is also self-taught, lots of reading, lots of dealing with patients over the years. You cannot deal with diabetes and not address food and food intake and food selection. So that's where I'm coming from. So not a dietitian trained, but I have been very well versed and influenced by the dietitians that have been in my professional life. Okay, any other comments before we go forward?
Nobody really said it's also a very cultural thing, that
It is.
your food, like, and what you eat and when you eat is gonna be influenced by the people around you.
Very much so. And so it's very important to become conversant with the culture that you're dealing with. When I went from the VA to an African American culture, it was a culture shock. Because what they considered food choices were very different from what the VA did. And what they considered weight, their body image and their body size was very different from my own background. So you do have to adjust, or at least be familiar, understand where they're coming from. Okay, so let's go through this module. So why study? So I gave you some reasons here. One is the supply of food is required by the organism and the cell to stay alive. Nutrition is the science or practice of consuming or utilizing foods. So if you can start to teach your patients how to utilize food as medicine or ways to treat their body well, it will be a different orientation, because very few of you brought that up. So it's not really in our lexicon, because we have so much food. It's so cheaply available compared to other countries or other places that it really doesn't, we do it more for entertainment, right? When you're bored, what do? A lot of people eat. Nutrition is the study of nutrients in foods, how the body uses the nutrients, and the relationship between diet, health, and disease. And so we'll emphasize that since you're going to go out and practice here in a couple of months. We'll also focus on how diseases and conditions and problems that can be prevented or lessened by a healthy diet, and then identify certain diseases, conditions, or problems that may be caused by dietary factors, including malnutrition, allergies, and metabolic diseases. Very small course faculty, yes?
It's for some reason it's not showing up on this screen.
Oh, okay.
Am I still on?
We turned, that one's off.
off.
You might try getting the video.
I don't have a video. We had a red light. And then, So a small faculty, it's be predominantly me, and Robin Polk will be here today and tomorrow morning. And also a person that you have met through the curriculum, Peggy Turner, a dietitian from OU. Dr. Britton and I've worked with her over the years in more educational settings, particularly in interdisciplinary studies. And she, I think, has served on several of your panels, so she will be coming tomorrow and on Thursday. Program concentrations are fairly limited. Most of it will be clinical medicine, a little bit of pharmacotherapy when we talk about obesity, and then physiology. Competencies that are addressed: knowledge, communication skills through your presentations, patient care, professionalism, practice-based learning and improvement, and system-based practice when we talk about community impact on nutrition, and then how that would influence your practice. Course format, pretty similar to most, but discussions for the most part. Also presentations by you, and assignments that you have on terms of dietary assessment. Here are some online resources. I think these are very good. I put them in your syllabus, which is posted. Did these come on? Well, okay. I don't know how to make the cameras go. Let's see. Got the cameras with the screens. Does anybody not have it to where they can see it on a computer? Yes, you try that.
I think it's when
There you go. Oh,
Sorry, I messed it up.
Yay.
okay. With that blue thing. These are really good ones. The Dietary Guidelines for Americans is a 5-year. It's very good from the standpoint of looking at healthy diets. Healthy People 2020, so every decade our country sets goals for the health of the population. And so part of that are dietary goals. So they are set in there, and they tell you from time to time what % of the population is hitting that. The state of Oklahoma puts out a State of the State report every few years. The last one that I know about is 2014, and they address health in terms of vegetable, fruit consumption, and a lot of the other health impact of nutrition shows up in like the reports on diabetes and children's health. Old Ways is a really cool website. Old Ways goes back and looks at populations that are not native to here, who are non-Western, or who have been here native but have greatly changed their diet. So they look at African Americans, they look at Asians, they look at Native Americans, and they have gone back and looked at how did they cook in the past and how do they prepare food now, how do they select. So there is an interest in people going back. The Navajos have done this. They've looked at how did we eat 100 years ago when we were a whole lot healthier than we do now. And so there's been some reverting back or promotion of food selection or food preparation to try to promote health. We used Old Ways at in family medicine in the diabetes clinic because we had a lot of African Americans. So we got a grant and we brought them in and we taught them how to cook Old Way. What was it like before you came to this country in terms of the vegetables you chose and how were those fixed? It was really interesting because when we fixed like greens, they were all like, this isn't how they're supposed to taste, because they don't taste anything like how they cook them now. So Old Ways is really good. They have a lot of information. They have a lot of recipes. I think they're a very good reference to have. You don't have to visit it. I would suggest you visit all these and at least get familiar so that when you get out, you might use them in practice. The other is the Whole Grains Council. They are fantastic in terms of grains. Every grain you can imagine. Some I have no idea what they are. I went up and looked at a lot of them. And I go to Sprouts and I look at them so visually. Most grains look alike, but they can be different in terms of the nutrients they provide. So these are some of the nutrition websites that I really like and I used in preparing your material. Okay, schedules. So I changed the schedule since you last saw it on probably Friday, and I reposted it again today. I regrouped some things differently. So today will be nutrition, and then I will come back and we talk about basic skills because you'll need that in order to do one of your assignments. Tomorrow morning we'll talk about healthy diet and dietary variations, and then Professor Pock will finish up the morning with her physiology. I'll talk about activity and exercise after lunch, and then Peggy Turner will come in and she'll talk to you about nutritional assessment. Then Wednesday is out. Some of you have Good Shepherd, and the rest are, everybody is given out the afternoon to prepare for your presentations. On Thursday morning, I'll talk about obesity management and the care of the patient who's undergone bariatric surgery. And then I'll talk about prescribed diets like ADA, low-fat, low-salt, DASH diet. Then after lunch, Peggy Turner will come back. She'll talk about enteral and parenteral feedings. And then I'll finish up with dietary replacements and supplements. I will reserve the right to move information. If I get through early in one topic, I will move into another. That way, if it frees up time, great. If not, it may help us in terms of crunch and give us some breathing room on Friday. Friday morning will be your presentations. Those of you who do not have Good Shepherd will present on Friday morning at 8 o'clock. Those will be the fad diets. And I'll go into a little bit more information later. And then I'll finish up the morning with disease and age impact on nutrition. After lunch, those of you who've been in Good Shepherd and others will do group presentations on food venues, evaluations of food venues. And then I'll finish up the day with community impact. So I'll talk to you a lot about community resources. I'll talk to you about how a community is structured. We'll talk about food deserts. We'll talk about you don't have sidewalks, what's the effect there? And then we'll talk about things like silver sneakers and the area-wide Council on Aging and what they provide. Talk about food banks. So the awareness in the farmers market and things that can be used in the community. Sound good? Yes. Okay. It's all good. So most of these I have gone through. I must skip because we've got some stuff to do. So these just give you an idea of each of what the different presentations will involve, which I've kind of given you. Okay, assignments. So let's go through the presentations first. So I've divided you into 6 groups that are going to do fad diets and 6 that are going to evaluate the food venue. So fad diets are important. If you go on and look at U.S. News and World, whatever, they came up with 38 of the top diets. There are so many fad diets you can't shake a stick at. I can't tell you how many patients would come in diabetes clinic and tell me about the diet, and I would have no idea. They all like that vinegar and mushroom diet, and they all swore by it for a while. So I want you to be conversant with some of the diets that are out there. So I picked some of the top ones, and then I picked some of the worst ones that have become more fad. The ones we're going to look at are the paleo, Atkins, raw food, alkaline, which I think is Victoria Beckham's new thing. So that's kind of risen in popularity recently. Whole30. What's the other one? No, I didn't make the ketogenic diet.
Paleo?
No, I may have listed them all. Raw food, Atkins, oh, South Beach, which continues to enjoy a lot of. And then there will be food venues. So what I want you to start to get familiar with, and this is what I did when I worked in the African American community. I would drive their neighborhoods, I would go to the grocery store, and I would walk their aisles to see what were they choosing. What did they have available? I went into one night because I was going to cook something Italian, needed ricotta cheese, and I said, "Where's your ricotta cheese?" And they were like, "What?" Didn't have it. So I always, whenever I go somewhere new, I walk the aisles and look, what do you got? So that when you talk to me about Glory greens, I know exactly what they're talking about, okay? So if you're gonna talk to people about nutrition, you ought to know what they have available, okay? So I'm gonna send 6 teams out. You're gonna go to a variety of different places. I want you to go to, there's one group will go to a convenience store, a 7-Eleven. And a lot of these are based on real patient experiences I had. You'll also, one group will go to Walmart, one group will go to Sprouts, one group will go to a Hispanic grocery store, one will go to one in the African American community, and the other one is Aldi's. So I want you to know where people shop and what's available. Those of you who go to food venues will have a scenario. You'll have several things you'll have to do. You'll have a shopping list, you'll have some things to price out, and you will also be given a scenario so you can think through, if this was one of my patients and they had to use this grocery store, what's the good things about it and where's the disadvantages about it. And almost all the scenarios I gave you are people that I've dealt with in a clinic situation. Questions about those? Okay, so I'm going to hand out these. We're going to walk through the purpose and presentation and material to cover, and then I've also given you on the back of these, you have the grading criteria for the presentation. Okay? So why don't you come down here as I call you. So the paleo diet is going to be Allison Barton, Kendall, and Sakaba. So you 3 will come down. Or if you can just come and get theirs. South Beach diet will be Boomy, Jordan, and Ron Brown. I'm going to hand those out. Taylor, Dylan, and Sony are going to do the alkaline diet. Sony, you want to hear those out? The Atkins diet is going to be Hala, Lindsay Dolan, and Travis Lockwood. The raw food is going to be JC, Lauren. Yes. Because Dr. Britton and I have fights about how to say your name. Yes, we both say it differently, and I think I'm right and he thinks he is. Okay, Caitlin Bant, Mariah, and Randy Toyne, you're going to do the Whole 30.
It's a good one. 30.
Okay, so just sit tight, those of you who are in the other group. Let's go through these quickly. It'll be on your list. And look at the top of the list.
Let's turn it down so I don't forget. Oh, it says it right there.
Okay, everybody have it? Okay, I'm just talking to the folks who are going to do fad diet. Okay, y'all are 8 to 10:30 on Friday morning. So a fad diet, whatever is it promises usually quick weight loss plan, over promises dramatic results. They usually don't result in long-term weight loss. And they usually have missing nutrition or nutrients in some areas. So the purpose is, I want you to be informed of the diet. I want you to have experience researching the information to educate yourself, because that's usually what you will have to do. You'll have to get on the computer and search it down. Evaluate the materials on the internet and communicate to your rest of your class, educate them about those fad diets. Both groups, both food venue and your fad diets, you're going to have 25 minutes to present. 20 of that is presentation, 5 is questions from the group. You will write 2 objectives. I will help you with that, and you will write a question. So you will be tested off the presentations. The material that we'll talk about is listed there. What's the diet, what's the purpose, how does it meet, daily allowances, what food's allowed, what food is not allowed, what's missing in the diet, is exercise necessary to accomplish the weight loss they promise, is there a weight loss supplement? A lot of these groups, it's a money making. So they tell you what foods to eat or not eat, and then they sell you a bunch of supplements along with it. Is there support either online or in person? What's the long-term efficacy of the diet? Is there a plan for maintaining weight once you get off of it? Does it teach life skills in terms of food? And then what's the cost? So your presentation is from 8 to 10:30. I have set up a Dropbox in D2L. Have you all used a Dropbox in D2L with this anywhere? Okay. So if you go under the nutrition or under the assignments and you open it up, I have put the Dropbox link for every presentation. I couldn't figure out, it grayed out the box, which makes me think they don't have it set up for group. So it's set up as an individual, so somebody in your group will have to load those into that in there. I want to do that because I'm afraid you'll barrage it with a barrage of emails. I will miss something. So if you will drop it in the box, then I can see it, and it will send me an alert when you do it. Each group, whether you're in the afternoon or the morning, it's due by 7 a.m. that morning. Okay, everybody's presentation. And then I'll upload it so that people can see them. Okay. Questions about the fad diet? I will be here all day Wednesday, so if you want help, I will be glad to work with your group. Okay. You also will have to identify what part you contributed in the makeup of the presentation. And I'll have that for you a little bit later. Okay. All right. No questions? All right. Food venue people. Okay, so the first group in the African American, and I want to talk to you all after class today at 5 before you attempt to go there, is Zane, Brad, and Shelby. Okay, so there is each person. I've given you 2 guys and a fairly small woman who will not intimidate the people. Okay, there's one for each person, there's one of these for each person, and there is a grading for each person, okay? The convenience store, 7-Eleven, is Julie Mathis, Allison Joins, and Lauren Dobb. Aldi Supermarket is Kathy, Michaela, and Sophia. Sprouts is Andrew, Amy, and Ani. Hand it back to Amy. Bella Walmart, and I'm specific on that, is Ashley, Lillian, and Samantha. Oh, I gave it to Listen. The last one, the Mercado Morales, is Abby Bays, Lindsay Love, and Amy Wynn.
I love that place.
They have great stuff. They have the best salsa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't. I don't know. Is there more than one copy in here?
Yep, there should be 3.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know what it was.
Okay, listen to me before you read all that stuff, because I don't have much time here. All right, on the first food menu, folks. On the very front is your person description. Next is tells you your purpose, your parameters, your due date, your evaluation at the bottom. So you're going to visit the store in person. You take the grocery list. You'll see there's 2 lists on the back. There's a grocery list, and then there is a food availability list. Take those with you, fill it out. You'll have to present one as a group. Price out the foods that are in the list, determine the availability of the other certain foods. Want you to look as if the produce is fresh. Is it in date? Check expiration dates. You'll be shocked at how much stuff expires that they continue to sell. You're also given either a transportation or a budget barrier, and so you'll need to identify those, and that will be part of your presentation. Material to cover is on the second page. The venue, what community does it serve? Look around. Drive around the communities, look at it. Is it on a bus route? How do people get there? Cost of items of the healthy diet compared to junk foods or processed foods. Okay, so on your list, you've got healthy foods, you've got junk food. Availability of healthy items. Do a percent of the store that carries healthy items. So just survey it and say about half of it, 20%, whatever it is. Fresh fruit, produce and meats. Go around and look at what they've got. Look at transportation costs, barrier use by different groups. So think about it. Look at the aisles. Could somebody who's in a wheelchair get down the aisle? If somebody who's in a walker, could they get down the aisle? Could a whole person navigate it? Okay. If you don't speak English, could you navigate it? If you don't speak Spanish, could you navigate it? Okay. Questions about that? I know I'm going through it quickly. I will be happy to talk to any of you in person if you're really unsure. If you look at, both of you now look at the grading criteria. I have broken it down into several areas. So I'm going to grade you on organization, content, and your presentation. So organize needs to have, and you don't have to go specifically by this, but I've given you some ideas, an introduction, a description, advantages, disadvantages. I'm looking off the food venue, summary and conclusions. The content needs to be comprehensive enough. Sorry, this probably won't work to do. Food venue, I'm looking at yours. Comprehensive sufficient to describe the venue. Information indicates that a variety of information sources were used, and you will document those at the end of your presentation. Majority of assigned topics are addressed, and interpretation of information is analytical and well thought out. Conclusions are reasonable based on material presented, and primary sources are documented at the end of the presentation. In terms of presentation, you make good eye contact. Speaker uses clear and audible voice. Delivery is poised, professional. Last year I didn't ask them to, but they all dressed up. Delivery, creative, and I want creative presentation material. Graphics are attractive. They help get the point across. There's no misspelled words. All members of the group participate in presentations. So if you have 20 minutes and there's 3 of you, you don't have to talk very long. Length of presentation is within the assigned time and information is well communicated. Questions about that? Okay, food, let's see. For fad diet, your organization is very similar, your content is similar, it's comprehensive and sufficient to describe the diet plan. Information indicates that a variety of information sources were used. Majority of the assigned topics are addressed. So if there's no way to address it, then I understand it. But the list that I've given you should be addressed. Interpretation of information is analytical and well thought through. Conclusions are reasonable based on material presented, and primary sources are documented. And then the rest of it, PowerPoint presentation is the same. Questions? Yes?
As far as like 7-Eleven, it doesn't specify, so we can go to whichever one.
No, I did specify. I've given you a specific one. It's the one on Western.
Oh.
I've given you a specific Sprouts. I've given you a specific everyone. Walmart is Belle sorry.
Did you put the Aldi one?
I did. It's not on your list. I'm sorry, why you're not seeing it. I posted it to the to D2L, all the different groups and the addresses and the times that they are open based on their website. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So that's assignment. And then the last is, we're going to do a dietary recall. So you have a dietary assessment. You did the the survey has gone out. I would like you to finish it today if you can. If it doesn't, from technology standpoint, I understand, and we'll link that out. I am going to, whenever I can get all the data, is I will present it back to you as a class. I won't know any of your individual, I won't ever point out any individual, but I want to show you as a class what a group of 20-somethings overall diet looks like, yes.
Have you gotten to work? Because I can't get mine to work.
No, I haven't gotten it to work, but I've told Monica, and she has called the IT people, and so they're working on it. Let's see. Survey today. Dietary recall, we're going to complete this in class right now. I want it back you're going to have a few minutes to finish it up. I want it back, I'll give it back to you at 4 o'clock. Okay. You're going to use this as part of your assessment. So this is common if you go to the doctor and nutrition is something they want you to do. They will ask you, if you sit down with the dietitian, they'll ask you to do a 24-hour recall. Then I'm going to have you, I'll go over this afternoon, I'll have you do a 24-hour diary, and you'll compare what your recall is like to your diary documentation.
Is this one? Yeah, I think we have to fill that one out. I'm not used to it. Time of day. That's how I do it.
Shoot them down as you have extras. You got one? It will be on. I want you to do listen. It's okay. So I want you to do the last 24 hours from now and through 24 hours of yesterday. Or you can do all of yesterday, either way, but I don't want you to go beyond that. Pass extras down this way. So here is one that I did. This was mine last year. Everybody got one now? Or headed to you? Here's mine from last year. I'm pretty patterned in what I eat for breakfast. Estimate the amount. How was it prepared? And calories you don't have to worry about because you will go back and look those up. That's why I'm going to give it back to you. I just want to see completion, and then I'll return it and you'll use it as part of your assessment. So write down what you ate yesterday or within the last 24 hours. Yes, and Ron says it'll be different because I eat differently on the weekend than I eat during the weekday.
So if it was like a sandwich, do we just put like the bread and the meat?
You need to deconstruct it so that you can cost it all out in terms of calories. Now, if it's a casserole or something like that, you're going to have to go back and estimate. But you can just put tuna casserole, and then when you go back and figure out calories, you can deconstruct it yourself.
It's like fast food where they provide calories for the sandwich.
Fine.
Can you use that?
But I want you to get done in the next few minutes, so don't worry about the calories right now, just get the food down. When you're done, if you'll bring it to me, and then you can go on break until Dr. Paul gets here, or Professor Paul, and I'll go over some other things at the end of the day with you that I didn't get done. put down everything that has calories in it. So even drinks. You chewed a lot of gum, candy. Just get the food down. I just want to see that you completed the stuff. Don't worry about all the other stuff because you're gonna run out of time. I did print out a few of Professor Pock's outlines if you want them. I'm not gonna pour over these. If you eat like crap, it doesn't matter to me. It does, but I'm not gonna judge you.
I was, did you see that? Black coffee, black crystals and milk. Like oatmeal. Like the corner
What
like
could happen
the door,
is you don't
pizza in
have
my
to
door.
figure out what tastes like it
I
was.
think I had one of those.
So you probably went on application, probably had a
No.
It's okay. All right. Patients have had food poisoning.
It's so packed. I don't even ate.
It's what?
I had Roman, I started off with Roman noodles.
Ramen noodles.
Ramen.
That actually sounds pretty good.
And coffee most of all day yesterday.
Yeah, girl.
I guess I was pretzels at one point.
I didn't put Diet Coke, but I didn't have any calories in it.
I didn't either. I didn't put
anything in
18 of those probably.
0 calories.
There are no calories in that.
You have to do that?
I had a glass of wine at 1 a.m.
Well, I bought a 20 case on Friday, and I've got about 4 left. And I wasn't home on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting this crap in this.
This one patient would come in on Monday morning and have to do. Have everybody?
I think
Say, okay.
Oh, I guess